أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا رسول الله، وآل بيتك المظلومين الغر الميامين المنتجبين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء. سادتي يا ليتنا كنا معكم. We'll truly miss these nights that we were blessed to attend these majalis and to serve. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بقية الله خير لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين وما أنا عليكم بحفيظ. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Sending a gift for the masters of these worlds, the best of Allah's creation, the ones we are indebted to them in everything that we have. Recite 3 loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We could say that perhaps the strongest relationship that exists in this day and age, in this time, between Imam al-Hussein and anyone alive today on this land would be the relationship between Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and Imam Sahib al-Asr, Sahib al-Zaman, al-Mahdi al-Muntadhar alayhi afdal al-salati wa-salam. When we come to the ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt, the traditions, and we take a look at them, we know certainly, for surely, that with regards to the physical relationship, Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi is among the lineage, the offspring, the grandchildren of Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. Imam al-Mahdi is the 12th Imam, is the 9th Imam who is related to Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi as his grandchild. And we realize that the relationship was from both sides. Imam al-Hussein, on the day of Ashura, when he sacrificed his 6-month-old infant, one of the things that he said was that رَبِّ إِن تَكُنْ حَبَسْتَ عَنَّا النَّصْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَاجْعَلْ ذَلِكَ لِمَا هُوَ خَيْرٌ. That, O Lord, if you have confined victory from us, then make it for what is good. Or فَادَّخِرْهُ لَمَا هُوَ خَيْرٌ. That as an indication for the movement of Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and I think I've already mentioned this in the first night of Muharram, that Imam al-Hussein is Tha'rullah or Tharullah. One of the meanings of Thar is blood, the blood of God, and one of the meanings of Thar is the blood avenger. So Allah is the one that will avenge Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And Imam al-Mahdi will be the one that will avenge his blood. So Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura makes an indication for Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi. Last night I talked a little bit about the relationship between Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam with the prophets and how the story of the Prophet Ibrahim salamullah alayhi ala nabina wa alayhi wa alayhi salam has similarities with the story of Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi. So we find a relationship between Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi with the prophets. And then we find the relationship from another side between Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi with the prophets as well. Imam Mahdi also has a relationship. How? As narrated in some traditions, that after Imam Mahdi reappears, that the Imam comes, he leans on the Kaaba, right? And when he wants to make his movement, his journey, he comes مسند ظهره إلى الكعبة ويقول يا معشر الخلائق ألا من أراد أن ينظر إلى آدم وشيث فها أنا ذا آدم وشيث من أراد أن ينظر إلى نوح وولده إسام فها أنا ذا نوح من أراد أن ينظر إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل إلى موسى ويوشع إلى عيسى وشمعون until he comes to إلى محمد وأمير المؤمنين صلوا عليه اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد فها أنا ذا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وأمير المؤمنين من أراد أن ينظر إلى الحسن والحسين من أراد أن ينظر إلى الأئمة من ولد الحسين فها أنا ذا الأئمة عليهم السلام. So there's a relationship between Imam al-Hussein with the prophets, where he is their inheritor, Warithul Anbiya, Warithu Adam, as we recite in his ziyarah and in ziyarat al-Nahiya, As-salamu ala Adam, and to the prophets. Also, Imam al-Mahdi is the prophet's inheritor. It's a relationship. And thirdly, there's a relationship between Imam al-Hussein with Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi from a different side. So what's the relationship between Imam al-Hussein and Imam al-Mahdi? Is there any similarities? What are the similarities between them? Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, before leaving from Mecca towards Kufa, as narrated, that he comes to the Masjid al-Haram beside the Kaaba or in front of the Kaaba, and he brings his sermon, the famous sermon خط الموت على ولد آدم خط القلادة على جيد الفتاة, and that sermon, and then after that he leaves from Mecca. Also, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, he will do the same thing when he reappears, and he will bring the sermon that I just brought right now, مسند ظهره إلى الكعبة من أراد أن ينظر إلى آدم. So both of the Imams, they do the same thing before leaving for their movement, before they arise, right? Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, and the kids are listening, right? Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, where does he begin his journey? After Medina. He goes to Mecca, and then from Mecca he goes towards Karbala, right? So Imam al-Mahdi, Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, from Mecca he goes towards Kufa. Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi, also from Mecca, he will start his movement towards Kufa. And he will go to Kufa, and based on some traditions, as narrated and as reported, he will set up his government, so to speak, in Kufa, in a mosque in Kufa called Masjid al-Sahla. And it's mustahab, if you go to Kufa, if you go to Najaf, you go to Masjid al-Sahla as well. It's a very sacred and holy mosque. And some say that Imam Mahdi will also live in that mosque, Masjid al-Sahla. Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi shows, and on the day of Ashura, that he is like the simplification, the summary of all the prophets what he did on the day of Ashura, right? Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayh comes towards the Kaaba and he shows that he is the prophets with the tradition that I just read. Man arada an yanzur ila Adam, ila Shith, ila Ibrahim. So Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayh is like the summary of all the prophets. Imam al-Mahdi is also the same. That's also a similarity between Imam Mahdi and Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayh, how does he make his movement? Based on what? Imam al-Hussein, he says in one of his sayings that asir bisirat jaddi wa abi, that I will follow the pathways of my grandfather and my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullah alayh. So what Imam al-Hussein did, if Amir al-Mu'mineen was in the same position, he would have done the same thing, right? If the Prophet was in the same position, he would have done the same thing. So Imam al-Hussein followed the same road, the same pathway that Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen did. What about Imam Mahdi? What will Imam Mahdi do? He will also follow the same pathway as Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Except in one thing, as narrated. Except in one thing. So what does that mean? And I will get back to that soon. What does that mean? That Imam al-Mahdi will follow the same pathway as the Prophet and Amir al-Mu'mineen. The thing is, with regards to Imam Mahdi, some people have said, they've got this misconception that when Imam Mahdi reappears, right kids? When Imam Mahdi reappears, he will start fighting with his sword and a lot of people will be killed. And sometimes some people might think that there's going to be oppression. No, that's impossible. And I will talk about this right now. That no, Imam al-Mahdi will follow the pathway of the Prophet and Amir al-Mu'mineen based on some narrated traditions and ahadith that are narrated. Firstly, the Prophet says, and also the Sunnis believe in this hadith, that إِنِّي تَارَكُمْ فِيكُمُ الثَّقَلَيْنِ مَا أَن تَمَسَّكْتُمْ بِهِمَا لَن تَضِلُّوا بَعْدِي أَبَدًا كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَعَتْرَتِي أَهْلَ بَيْتِي وَإِنَّهُمَا لَن يَفْتَرِقَا حَتَّى يَرْدَا عَلَيَّ الْحَوْض. The Prophet says that the Ahlul Bayt and the Quran, they will not be separated from each other. So some people that might think that Imam Mahdi, when he reappears, he will just come in a bloodshed and bloodbath. No, this is wrong. Imam al-Mahdi will follow the Quran. They will not be separated until the Day of Judgment. This is what the Prophet says in the hadith that is accepted by everyone. That's number one. Number two, there's a hadith in Nahj al-Balagha, and this is a little bit intellectual, so I hope I've drawn everyone's focus right now. He says, يَعْطَفُ الْهَوَى عَلَى الْهُدَى إِذَا عَطَفُوا الْهُدَى عَلَى الْهَوَى. That Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayh, and this might be just Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayh, he will make people be interested in guidance. So you know how right now sometimes some people pray but they don't like to pray. But in the time of Imam Mahdi, people will also have their desires with guidance. They will also like to pray. They would like it. They would also like to do the practices of religion. وَيَعْطُفُ الرَّأْيَ عَلَى الْقُرْآنِ إِذَا عَطَفُ الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى الرَّأْيِ. People will also just follow the Quran based on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. So even in like disputes, you know how when you have a problem with someone else, in a disagreement, in a dispute, some people, they might, for example, use the Quran with their advantage, right? But in the time of Imam Mahdi, they will use the Quran even if the Quran is against them. Just whatever the Quran says, and they will follow it, right? Based on the meaning of this hadith. One day, and I will just try to bring an example of how the righteous people during the time of Imam al-Mahdi will be. Right? Inshallah. So, one day, a person comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he was black. And the kids are listening. A person comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He was black. He had done a crime. He had committed a crime of theft, of stealing. So he came to Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi. وَأَقَرَّ أَنَّهُ سَرَقَ. He admitted that he had stole something. He had stolen. So Amir al-Mu'mineen asked him 3 times, and he said, قال يا أمير المؤمنين طهرني, purify me. Yes, he just confessed. فإني سرقت فأمر عليه السلام بقطع يده. So Imam al-Hussein ordered to do the had, to chop his fingers or hand. So they chopped off his fingers or his hand, and then he went back. So this black person, Amir al-Mu'mineen, ordered to cut off his fingers because of the crime that he committed. He would probably feel upset at this stage, right? So one of the people, they come to that person, like that black person, and they tell him, what did Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen do to you? He wanted that person to start hating Amir al-Mu'mineen. But you know what that person said? He starts saying, قطع يدك فقال ليث الحجاز. Who cut your hand? He's like ليث الحجاز. وكبش العراق ومصادم الأبطال المنتقم من الجهال كريم الأصل شريف الفضل محل الحرمين وارث المشعرين أبو السبطين أول السابقين. He just started bringing the virtues and the good qualities of Amir al-Mu'mineen and showing his love towards Amir al-Mu'mineen. And so on and so forth. المؤيد بجبرائيل المنصور بميكائيل والله ذلك والله أمير المؤمنين على رغم الراغمين. So the person goes to him and says, قطع يدك وتثني عليه. You just chopped off your fingers or your hands and you're just complimenting him and bringing his virtues. So he's like لو قطعني إربا إربا مزددت له إلا حبا. If Amir al-Mu'mineen comes and he chops me into pieces, I will not stop loving him. In fact, I will love him even more. This is how he was. Because some people, when they know Amir al-Mu'mineen, they are granted with the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen, they will just fall in love with him. Because they know that everything that Amir al-Mu'mineen does is right. Amir al-Mu'mineen does not do anything wrong. So he went to Amir al-Mu'mineen and he told them about the story and what happened. So Amir al-Mu'mineen said that إن محبينا لو قطعناهم إربا إربا ما ازدادوا لنا إلا حبا. Yes, that if our lovers, if we cut them into pieces, they will just love us even more. And then look at what Amir al-Mu'mineen did. And also he says that إن في أعدائنا من لو علقناهم السمن والعسل ما ازدادوا منا إلا بغضا. That from our enemies, even if we give them the honey, the sweet honey, they will just not love us. In fact, they will just hate us even more. وقال للحسن عليك بعمك الأسود. Bring your uncle, the black person, your uncle. So Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying that he's my brother. عليك بعمك الأسود. So they brought him the black person. And Amir al-Mu'mineen did a mu'jiza and he returned his hand or his fingers back together. And he was one of the people that got martyred in the battle, one of the battles of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the battle of Nahrawan. Salamullah alayhi, and inshallah will be one of the ones who will be like that. So in the time of Imam Mahdi, you'll have companions who are like that. I'll get back to what I said about Imam al-Mahdi will not do oppression in his time. And in fact, it is narrated that he will not spill a single ounce of blood without having the right to do so. There will be no oppression whatsoever. Some people think that, oh, he'll just kill randomly. No. He might as well come out with atomic bombs and stuff to just kill everyone. No, impossible. That's not even imagined. And also, we've got the hadith that is widely famous. يَمْلَأُ الْأَرْضَ قِسْطًا وَعَدْلًا كَمَا مُلِئَتْ ظُلْمًا وَجَوْرًا. That he will fill the land with justice after it was filled with oppression. So how could we say that the Imam will come and will just start killing randomly? No, that's just shaitan. And we also have narrations, as reported, that the worshippers of the sun and the moon will enter his religion. How? It's because they will see how that Imam al-Mahdi is ala haq, is with righteousness. Just like some people today, they believe in Imam al-Hussein. When they see Arba'in, for example, non-Muslims, how do they believe in Imam al-Hussein? Because they see how it's obviously clean and pure righteousness. So when the Imam also comes, it will be the same too. إذا جاء أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا. People will just come and believe. Just like how Wahab believed in Imam al-Hussein, who was a Christian youth. How Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, he also joined Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. Now, it's also narrated that Imam al-Mahdi, going back to the first subject, because I went a bit off topic, that Imam al-Mahdi will also follow the pathways of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah. Remember how Amir al-Mu'mineen was strict on his governors. Like when one day a woman comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and she says that one of your governors, he asked us to expose, for example, our belongings. He wanted to investigate us, to inspect us. Just to that point. She didn't say that he came to oppress us or anything, just to inspect us. So Imam al-Hussein wrote a letter and he just resigned him. He just put him off. As simple as that. And also, as reported, he started like crying and saying, Allahumma inni lam amuruhum bi dhulmi khalqik. Allahumma inni abra'u ilayka min dhulmihim. Strict on the governors, on the people who are responsible at the top, and very merciful to people. I mentioned the similarity, and I'm still on the same subject. Look at how Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi refers to Imam al-Hussein and talks to Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi in Ziyarat al-Nahiya. He says, Assalamu alayka ya mawlai. The relationship between Imam al-Mahdi and Imam al-Hussein. Salutations or peace to you, O my master. Assalamu alayk salam al-arif bihurmatik, al-mukhlas fi wilayatik, al-mutaqarrib ila Allah bimahabbatik, al-bari'u min a'da'ik. Peace be upon you, or salutations from the one, referring to himself, who recognizes your sanctity, who is sincere in your guardianship, who seeks nearness to Allah through your love, and who is aloof from your enemies. What will Imam Mahdi do when he reappears? What is his relationship with Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi? أين الطالب بدخول الأنبياء وأبناء الأنبياء أين الطالب بدم المقتول بكربلاء. He will avenge their bloods. Where is the one demanding with the vengeance of the prophets and their sons? Where is the one demanding with the blood of the one slain in Karbala? And there's a hadith that says that إذا خرج الإمام المهدي سلام الله عليه قتل ذراري قتلة الحسين. He will come and he will kill the offspring of Imam al-Hussein. of the offspring of the killers of Imam al-Hussein, excuse me. So someone comes and he asks the Imam that, how could that be possible? So the Imam says, huwa kadhalik. So he says, what about the Quran that says, وَلَا تَزُرُ وَازِرَةٌ وَزْرَ أُخْرَى, that no soul burdened with sin will bear the burden of another. So if you've committed a sin, or if someone else has committed a sin, you will not bear his sin. It has nothing to do with you. So how come Imam Mahdi, when he reappears, he will come and he will kill the children, the offspring of the killers of Imam Hussein? They weren't the ones who killed Imam Hussein, right? So the Imam replies by saying, قال صدق الله في جميع أقواله ولكن ذراري قتلة الحسين يرضون بفعال آبائهم ويفتخرون بها ومن رضي شيئا كان كمن آتاه. The offspring of the killers of Imam Hussein, they are content. They are happy with what their grandfathers did to Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi. And you know how when the days of Ashura come, not everyone is lamenting Imam Hussein. It's mostly the Shia, right? But some people consider it as Yawma Farahin wa Surur. And I don't know about the tradition that they still do it in Morocco, in Maghreb, where they've got the celebration. Maybe the people like who are like the most of the people out there, they don't know about these traditions and the roots of it, but they've got the celebration done on the day of Ashura. And they bring someone, a guy, you know how in English and in Arabic we call Santa Claus Baba Noel? They bring a person and they call him Baba Ashur. You can search it up. Baba Ashur, and this guy just comes and he makes the children and everyone happy by, I don't know, doing what. And I don't think the children know about this, the secret about this celebration. But it comes from Bani Umayyah. It comes from the people who celebrate for Bani Umayyah. The ones who hate the Ahlul Bayt right now. And the ones who have enmity towards the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. So Imam Mahdi, when he comes, he will take vengeance and he will kill the ones that are happy with what their forefathers did. A person who's with Imam Mahdi, he's with Imam Hussein salamullah alayhi. And a person who is with Imam Hussein, he is with Imam Mahdi. So what do we do today? While we're in occultation, in ghaibah, what do we have to do? To be with Imam al-Hujjah, one of the things that we can do in the time of occultation is to set up these gatherings and these Husayniyat. And may Allah yujzi khayran, the ones who gathered this Husayniyah and the ones who invited me to be blessed to do some speeches with regards to these nights. Allah yajazihum bil khair. So, when some people come and they object, they say, why do you cry for Imam al-Hussein? What's the point? You know, these same people, they're usually not very religious. They would say the same thing with regards to prayer. They would say, why do you pray to Allah? Allah doesn't need your prayer. Isn't that what they say? Allah doesn't need your salah. So they just make these justifications coming from shaitan. What do you mean? Imam al-Mahdi salamullah alayhi cries for Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. The Ahlul Bayt, all of them cry for Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. And you notice that those people who lament and mourn Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, they are the closest ones to Imam al-Mahdi and the closest ones to Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi. Who sticks to the teachings of Imam al-Hussein more than the ones who set up these majalis and cry for Imam al-Hussein and love Imam al-Hussein? Who is the closest one to Imam al-Hussein? The ones that do nothing? Or the ones who are with these majalis? Crying and lamenting is part of our duty. They are the true mu'mineen, the ones that come and lament. You notice, you can see it. And of course there's rewards for crying for Imam Hussein and to do these majalis. As narrated from a hadith that from one of the Imams, Wallah inna bukakum alayh wa hadithakum bima jara alayh wa ziyaratukum qabrah. It's a great hadith. What's the rewards for doing all that? نصرة لكم في الدنيا. You are supporting Imam al-Hussein, right? فأبشروا فإنكم معه في جوار رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. And may Allah make us as one of those people. So Imam al-Mahdi says لأندبنك صباحا ومساء ولا أبكين عليك بدل الدموع دما. Instead of crying tears, I'll cry blood for you. The calamity is big. It's huge. Just like tomorrow, the 13th day of Muharram, is when the sacred bodies were buried. As the enemy just left the body, the sacred bodies under the scorching sun of Karbala, it was like tomorrow when the women of Banu Asad, they came and they wanted to bring some water or something, and then they just found these bodies of Imam al-Hussein on the 13th day of Muharram, just slain on the plains of Karbala. So they went back to their men and they said, what is going on here? Come check this out. So the men came and they were shocked from the scene. They tried to bury the body of Imam al-Hussein, but the body was not moving. That's what it's reported. So they made someone to be the lookout. So that person went, and then just in case if the army of Yazid and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad would come and they would catch them, so they would just hide themselves. So as they were there, they noticed someone was coming. So they quickly went and hid. So then they realized that that person came, and he came closer. He was bending down, and he came to one of the bodies, and he bent down and started kissing the body. So they realized and noticed that this person is not an enemy. So they came and approached him, and they realized that it's Imam al-Sajjad, salamullah alayhi. So they came, they tried to bury the bodies. The body of Al-Hur was already buried by his clan, by his family. But as the poet said, by the tongue of Sayyidah Zainab, بَسْ ضَلَّ وَالْمَعَتْهُمْ عَشِيرًا. Only the ones that don't have any family, don't have any clans, they were left. Meaning Imam al-Hussein salamullah alayhi, the enemy massacred all of his family. He had no one left to come except for Imam al-Sajjad salamullah alayhi, who was ill. So Imam al-Sajjad, out of mu'jizah, out of miracle, he came and he started burying the body. So what happened? He asked for a piece of wooden mat to put the body of Imam al-Hussein on that mat so that he would lower it down. So they tried to help him. Imam al-Sajjad said, "Inna ma'i man yu'inuni." There is someone that will help. I don't know what he was referring to. Was he referring to the millions and billions of angels? Was he referring to the 124,000 prophets who descended down to help bury the sacred body of Imam al-Hussein? I don't know. Was he referring to Rasulullah, to Fatima al-Zahra, to Imam al-Hasan? I'm not sure. ثم أنزله في لحده, and then he put him down. And then he said, طوبى لأرض تضمنت جسدك الطاهر فإن الدنيا بعدك مظلمة والآخرة بنورك مشرقة. وأضاف أما الليل فمسهد والحزن سرمد. The calamity, the sadness will just stay. That's it. And when he placed him and he put the dirt on him, on his grave, he came and he wrote with his finger on the grave. He said, هذا قبر الحسين بن علي ابن أبي طالب ابن أبي طالب الذي قتلوه عطشانا. His characteristic is the one. This is the grave of Al-Hussein, of Imam al-Hussein, the one who was martyred while being thirsty. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this final night in this majlis to grant us with the blessing of seeking nearness towards the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and Imam Sahib al-Asr, Sahib al-Musibah, Ajjalallahu ta'ala fi farajah, and to make us one of the lovers of Imam al-Hussein and the servants of Imam al-Hussein. As the poet says, that when you go and you visit Imam al-Hussein, say, أوقف بابا أبو اليمة بكل خشوع ومد له إيدك وقل له يا حسين برقي احسبني واحد من عبيدك وكون أموت وأنا أبكي لنحرك وقطعة وريدك. هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى اللهم على محمد وآله الطيبين.